Hello, lovely people. Here I am, Janneke Hellebrekers. My website is called Miss Hellbreaker, and I'm whatever is about spreading consciousness and awareness and wisdom. And I'm just also giving yoga, meditation, energetic healings, and I'm very active in the awakening support. It's a website, awakening support. I will put the website underneath this video, where you can find a lot of information about a lot of different subjects. And tonight we're going to be talking with Richard Lennie. He is like a UFO specialist, and he's already researching that for 30 years in the UK where he lives. And I'm very happy to be talking with him this evening. So, welcome, Richard. And maybe you can tell a bit about yourself.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm from the UK. I'm 58 years old now. I started back in 1980 December when I saw a fleet of UFOs over my old school. And that's what started it all basically for me. Before then, I was interested in it. I saw books that my uncle had, the old black and white photos of UFOs going over the Empire State Building and over Washington, D.C. And that got me sort of interested. But I was wondering whether they could just be, normal objects, nothing from outer space or nothing that was extraterrestrial. And then I got my sighting in December of 1980, which I believe one of the craft that I saw could have been the Rendersham forest incident, which was obviously Christmas Day and Boxing Day of that year. So, and it was also recorded in my local Mercury paper on the Friday. But the odd thing was, everyone who saw it in my uphill, my village in Weston-super-Mare where I lived, they only saw one ball of red light. I saw 7 in a sort of like half circle formation. And to begin with, I thought they were planes going away because they were red. They weren't white, but no, they were coming closer. And then they stopped above my old primary school. And it's in a village, so it's quite quiet, but it was 6 o'clock and people were coming and going from work. But I did notice that when I saw them and they had stopped, I didn't see anybody else. I was on my own. But then a friend of mine came around the corner, Glenn, and he was a witness with me. So it was just Glenn and myself. And we looked up, and because he wanted to know what I was doing, I said, Glenn, look at this. And he was like, whoa, what is that? And there was like 7 of these balls of like plasma, I can only describe them as, hovering about, I'd say 300-400 feet up. And the outer 2 then moved up like that and went around in a circle like that, and then went down into formation again. And then they started to move over our heads very slowly. And as I looked up, they looked like they were all connected, as if it was one big craft. And then it was gone. And like I said, that Friday, this was, I think, Monday, that Friday in our paper, one ball of red light was seen flying around our airfield, and people took photographs of it. But we saw all 7. So I think what must have happened was after we saw them and they flew off, they must have separated and gone into different directions. So maybe it may have been one big craft connected, and then it split up into smaller crafts. But when I remember looking up, it did seem to be connected. And that was the start of it all. And then I was looking into the sky at night, every night, wanting to see them again. And I didn't see them again. But I did see some odd, strange things flying around. I saw satellites, obviously. I saw shooting stars, the usual things you see when you look up, you know. But then the internet came along. And of course, I was on the internet, and I was checking all, what other people were seeing around the world. And there was this guy called Mr. Ed Grimsley, and he was seeing UFOs with night vision equipment, so night vision goggles. And he left his phone number on the internet. So I phoned him up, had a real long chat with him. And he said, Rich, you need to get them. He said, you'll see so much more with these, because a lot of the craft are cloaked, so they're hidden from the naked eye. And the night visions, because they've got infrared, They look into the lower spectrum, and you can see stuff that your human eye cannot see. So I took his advice, and for about £300, I bought myself a pair of Generation 2 night vision. So you go Generation 1 to Generation 5. Generation 1 is a toy, so you need 2 and above. And Generation 3 really is what you do need, but they come into the thousands of pounds. They do make them very expensive. So, but Generation 2 is good enough. And for the first week or two, I was looking up. You can see, by the way, 40% more stars with night vision equipment than you can with the naked eye. So anybody who's just interested in astronomy, get them anyway, because you see 40% more. It's amazing, it really is. And then after the second week, I was about to sort of think about selling them, getting my money back. And it was a cold night. I was out the back. I was looking up, and all of a sudden 3 massive discs flew over the size of football pitches. They were huge. And it was like, whoa, and they were going north. So I sort of waited there and see if I could see any more. And about 20 minutes later, another 3 went over. And then about another 10 minutes later, another 3 went over. So I was hooked. And then, of course, I started seeing other stuff because I kept them, and I kept going out every night. And the thing is, you've got to go out after about, over in the UK, after about 11 o'clock, because up until 11 o'clock, you're seeing satellites, you know, all the time. But when the sun's gone underneath the Earth and it's totally dark and you haven't got the sun reflecting off anything above in space, that's when you start seeing other stuff. And yeah, I was seeing the stuff that's hidden, completely cloaked. You can tell the difference, by the way, because cloaked stuff, they look almost, you know, like people see ghosts, and they're almost like a see-through. I know some ghosts are solid, like you and I, but a lot of them aren't they? They're sort of like see-through-y. Well, these things that are flying across the sky, the ones that are cloaked, they're almost like you can see the stars through them, but they're bombing it across the sky, and they're sort of in shape like a V, like a vector, and they're flying really fast, and you're trying to keep up with them. They're so fast, and you can tell that they're cloaked, like I say, because if you look above, you can't see anything with the naked eye, but the night visions pick them up. And you can buy night visions that can actually record as well. So with a memory card, so when you're actually following these craft, you can record and then show to your friends and everything what you've seen. So you can, you know, show other people so they know you're not making it up. So yes, so that's when I started to really get into it. Then, of course, I knew there was something going on. There was more to it than this. You know, more to it than people were just making out, because a lot of people are saying it's space junk. They're saying they're balloons. Well, yes, they can be. And a lot of the time they probably are. But, you know, you will get occasions where they're not space junk. They're not balloons. They're not stars. They're not planets. They have got an intelligently controlled movement. They'll stop on a dime and then they'll reverse and fly back the other way. You know, there's nothing that we've got that I know of that can do that, that can fly that quickly and literally just stop and then fly back. So
if it is now recently even more sightings of that.
Yes, and this is something I've noticed this last year, especially this last 6 months. It's gone tenfold. There's so much going on now than there was 6-7 months ago. It's so much busier. So whether that means there's something going to happen, I don't know, but there's definitely something going on out there. In space, there's a lot more flying around. If you go onto the live feed, NASA's live feed, you'll see it. You'll see the cameras pointed down to Earth, and then all of a sudden you'll see stuff coming up and flying around. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But normally you'd only see it like once a week, but now it's nearly every day. You're seeing stuff, you know, all the time. So everything has magnified, got bigger. So does this mean that we are coming to a big conclusion? I don't know. You know, it's a possibility, but there's something going on. You know, it's a lot busier than ever before. So something is going to happen, I think, soon. Very soon, in fact.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so, definitely.
I think there's something big going to happen,
Yeah.
and we will be contacted in a major way. But it's like you hear also more and more people talking about several extraterrestrial races. Did you also researched more about that?
Yeah, there's you've got the greys. Apparently there's 27 different types. I mean, you know, I can only go by what I know and what I've seen. The 7-foot ETs, which have got like a silver suit on them, with wrapped around shades and a pack on their left shoulder, which looks like some sort of a laser. The lady is probably about 5 foot, and she's very similar dressed. And she walks around in your back garden. She'll have a triangle. She'll put it into your bush of your tree. Black smoke comes out the top. They do like experiments. All this I've observed down in a lady's house in Devon. Devon's down by Cornwall in the United Kingdom, so it's down the bottom part of the UK. And I done a TV show called Rich Planet TV, and as I was going out to the car park, a guy stopped me and said, "Look, I know this lady down in Devon. She's seeing a load of stuff going on. She's in her 60s. Nobody will help her. If I give you a phone number, do you have a chat with her?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I took it, phoned her up, and she was going, Richard, I'm getting all these craft flying over. I've got ETs walking around my garden. Can you help me?" I said, "Look, I'm going to come down, okay? I'll spend the weekend with you. I'll bring my equipment down and we'll see what we can do." I couldn't believe this, you know, this was too good to be true. So, of course, I went down with an open mind. I wasn't expecting to see anything, okay? And she picked me up from the station. We drove out. Now, this lady, she lives on her own. She has like a guy that helps her with shopping and stuff, but otherwise she lives on her own. She's got a big house, 100 acres of land is all hers.
Wow.
So of course, yeah. So of course, I went in there and I thought straight away, wow, you know, if what she tells me is true, they've got all this land, they can do all what they want to do, and they're not going to get disturbed. So I was quite hopeful that I was going to see something. It wasn't just like a lady with the back garden, you know, and that was it, which is what I assumed it was. Anyway, so I didn't say anything to begin with. It was daytime and it was normal. She goes, "Richard, I got this video I took of this triangle. I want to show it to you." And I said, "Yeah, okay." So she bought a brand new little 14-inch portable TV. She went into one of her bedrooms downstairs and she was like taking out the box. It was brand new. I was outside in the back garden looking at her flowers. And all of a sudden, there was a flash of light and like a beam, and it literally went straight past me, missed my stomach probably by about that much. So I sort of even went like that, you know, after it, like, whoa, what was that? And it curveballed into a downstairs bedroom window where she was. And there was a flash and I heard her scream. So I ran in and she come running out with the TV, it all melted. She hadn't even plugged it in. She literally just got it out of the box, right? Put the box to one side, got the because it had a plug on it, went to get the plug to put it in, and this thing just literally exploded and melted in her. I mean, you could smell the plastic. It was burning. You know what plastic smells like. It's horrible. They obviously didn't want her to use the TV to show me, or I don't know, but something was going on. And she said, "Richard, I hadn't even plugged it in. It's brand new television. I'd only bought it yesterday." So I said to her, "What was on the video?" So she explained to me that she'd gone to a supermarket and she was in the car park and she looked up and she saw a black triangle craft hovering above the supermarket. So she said to her driver, her chap that helps her, "I don't want to get out yet. Is this above me?" He knew all about what was going on as well, so he understood. Now, she had a camcorder which she takes with her everywhere. So she like went out the window like that, and she videoed the black triangle, and then it flew off. And she said, okay, we can go in now, it's gone, because she's terrified of these things. So she does her shopping, and then she goes back. When she gets back home, this is when she's on her own, this is before I arrived, she put the tape in on a big screen TV in her living room, and she played it back. And guess what? She wasn't in the car looking up at the triangle craft. She was in the triangle craft looking down. She was about 1,000 feet up. And she couldn't work out how this was possible. She could see a hand holding some sort of a bar or metal bit of the craft. And you could see the roof of the supermarket. You could see the car park where she was. People looked like ants. So she must have been about 1,000 feet up. And she was looking down like that. And she couldn't work it out. And the driver was there with her. And it was like, where did you get this? And she said, I don't know. This is what I recorded about half an hour ago. And she said, why am I up in the air? And then she got really worried. So, you know, this is obviously before I came to see her. And this is when she went to doctors, told her doctor, he said, just take some sleeping pills, you know, thinking it would go away, but it didn't. We had a massive, big 4-day UFO expo in Leeds in the UK. She went all the way up there, that's 6 hours on a train, right, to see some ufologists with the tape to show them and tell them the story. None of them were interested. They didn't want to know. So she came all the way back crying. And this is when, obviously, I got her phone number, and this is when I came down. So, unfortunately, I didn't get to see the videotape because she could have shown it to me on the big TV screen, but she was worried they might destroy that. But anyway, I know the video's true and real because another person of mine went down there after me, and they did see the video and they did confirm it. But anyway, that was in the afternoon. So that was the first thing that happened. And then when night came, about 9 o'clock, it was dark, it'd been raining. She'd gone out the front. She comes running in. She goes, Richard, it started. The beams are coming down. They're taking soil. They're taking water up into the clouds. Come and have a look. So I ran out the front, didn't see anything. She goes, look, the beams are coming down at 45-degree angle. Look. I said, Nina, her name is Nina. I said, Nina, I can't see anything. She said, get your equipment. And so I went and got the night visions. We're outside the front driveway, like that. Still couldn't see anything. Everything was lit up beautifully. I saw a garden, you know, and the trees and everything. But then I clicked the infrared button, which gives more power to the night visions, but it uses more battery. But I did it anyway. And then there they were. Now I had a camcorder, and I thought, because my night visions unfortunately didn't record. So I got my camcorder because I knew that had night shot, which is the same thing infrared. And I thought, well, I wonder if it'll pick it up, because then I can record what we're seeing. And it did. So I've recorded everything. So I've got it on my memory stick. I've got proof of this. 2 beams coming down from well, there's clouds, but the beams are going up to like a kidney-shaped plasma beam thing. And it's doing this. Okay, so it's rocking like that. It's a kidney-shaped. It looks like a cloud, but it's kidney-shaped and it's solid, it's white, and it's rocking like this. And out of this are coming the 2 beams, okay, coming down at 45 degrees into a garden. We know they're picking up soil. We couldn't really see it at the time, but we knew they were, because in the morning there were holes all over a garden, beautifully machined. The soil was like metal. It was beautifully done. I measured it 2 inches across, 4 inches down, hundreds of them all over a garden where they'd taken up soil. And this happened for about 20-25 minutes. And then I'm like this thinking, hang on a minute, how come Nina can see these beams, but I need night visions? So, and you can hear me chatting to her, and she says, oh, they gave me the ability to see in the infrared spectrum, so I can see what's going on. Now we know, don't we, that it's humanly impossible to see you and I cannot see into the low infrared spectrum. We can't. Our eyes cannot. They did an experiment back in the 60s, if I remember rightly, but nothing came of it. This lady in her 60s can see everything that's going on. She doesn't need this equipment, whereas you and I would need it. And then she said to me, Richard, they're starting to move around the back of the property. And I said, yeah, I know, Nina, I can see. And of course, she knew because she could see it anyway. And she's standing right by me. And they start to move around to the back. So we run round to the back, but no, they'd gone. So by the time they'd moved around, they'd obviously shot back up. I did, by the way, halfway through all this, I did hand her the night visions and said, I'm going to go over there. And she pulls me back. She said, you better not. She didn't want me to, so I had to respect her wishes. Yeah, that was a crazy night. And she said to me, I've got this man-made like pond with water in it. And she said, I couldn't understand where the water was going because it kept going down all the time. But of course, the beams were taking it up. So anyway, we got that, went back into the kitchen, you know, started to play it back. Was like really pleased with myself that I got this, you know, it was like, yes, this is amazing. And the fact that the lady could see what was going on, you know. And she has a cat called Ebby, a black and white cat. And she was telling me the story that when she first moved in, the cat kept meowing, wanting to go outside. And they don't have a cat flat. And everything was all closed, no windows were open, but the cat would disappear. And she couldn't find Ebby at all. And then about an hour or two later, she'd be crying out the back, out the front of the house, wanting to come in. So she'd open the door and let the cat in. And she couldn't work out where the cat was going. She was looking to see if there was any holes or anything like that the cat was getting through, and there was nothing. And then one day she was in the kitchen making something, and all of a sudden it looked like the cat was going to be sick. And it just stayed still like that, meowed once and didn't do anything. And she was looking at Ebby and she was going, Ebby, are you okay? And then all of a sudden the tiles from the kitchen wall started to show through the cat. The cat was starting to disappear. It took 2 minutes and it dissipated and it was gone completely. They take the cat. So it's basically like if you've seen Star Trek, you know, when they beam people down, but it's not quick. It takes about 2 minutes, but it's the same thing, basically, I assume, because obviously I didn't see that happen at the time. And I said to Nina, I said, well, this I've got to see. And about an hour later, Abby was in the kitchen and I thought Abby was going to be sick. She was like that by the side of the wall. And then she started to disappear and I saw the tiles going through her. And I went to get the camcorder to record it, but she'd gone.
So you saw the cat actually disappear?
Yeah. And I'm like this. That is impossible. That does not happen. And of course, your mind automatically tells you that that is impossible. So what your mind then tells you is it's a trick. It's magic. But you're looking around to see, you know, where the cat's going to reappear, but it doesn't. And it's gone. I mean, the cat has gone. And then, yeah, an hour or two later, it's outside meowing, wanting to come in. Never been to a vet, always got a glossy coat, never been poorly. So she thinks that they take the cat, do whatever, play with it, I don't know. They don't hurt it, and they always drop the cat back down. Yeah, but I noticed sorry, I was just going to say, I noticed something else, because she has farms next door. And before all this starts, you can hear the animals. They start to make noises, because they know, don't they? They say that animals can sense when something's coming, and they make these noises, and you know then when something's going to happen, because all the animals start to clack and make strange noises and stuff. But yeah.
Wow.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And that's just the first night.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of things happening with people and animals everywhere over the whole world, but people don't tell those stories because a lot of people don't believe them because they're so incredible.
Yeah, because you know when people say they get abducted by it, I mean, I've spoken to many ladies, women. Most of them seem to be women. I don't know why. I have never spoken to a guy that's been taken, apart from Travis Walton, who's a friend of mine. But the other guys, they're all women, and they say they've been taken since the age of 5 or 6, until they're 18, and then it stops. And I'm always like thinking, yeah, okay, it's possible. But now seeing Ebby disappearing, the cat, then this must be, they must take humans as well. Yeah, if they're going to take a cat, they're probably going to take you or I, okay? Or they're going to, they are going to take humans of some sort. So human abduction by, we'll call them extraterrestrials, because there isn't, I don't know what else to call them at the moment, but because we don't actually see them taking it. That's got to be going on. This abduction, alien abduction, is definitely 100% going on. How long it's been going on for, and what the reason behind it is, only you and I could guess. And what their agenda is, again, I don't know. But I'll tell you something else as well. When they were taking soil up, this is in the morning now, obviously, because at night it was too dark. I saw berries on the floor, and they unpeeled the berries, and they took the insides of the berries, but they left the outside, beautifully peeled, but the skin was left on the ground. And acorns are really hard. I tried to cut one with a fresh blade, and I couldn't do it. It kept like going over like that. They laser cut an acorn. They take half of it up and leave the other half on the ground. So there's halves of everything, and the other halves are missing. So that tells me that they're taking everything, foraging, like farmers. They're taking soil, water, berries, cats, dogs, people. They're taking everything up. And I think what they're doing, maybe, this is only my assumption, I don't know this for certain, is they're just checking to see how we're looking after the planet. And then, are we destroying it? Are we ruining it? Because also with chemtrails or contrails, whatever you like to call them, with planes, I've seen a sphere fly up into a contrail, and like an eraser, a rubber, it'll take out a part of the contrail. So you've got a gap. So you've got blue sky, white, and then it flies off. So it's sucking in some of the contrail to test it, to see if there's poisons in there, and then it flies off. So they're like I look at them like they're our guardians in a way, and they're making sure that we, the people, are making sure that we're looking after and protecting this earth. Because there's another thing as well, which points to this theory of mine as being correct. If there's a war going on, like the Vietnam War, for instance, they were seen every day. In fact, the American soldiers called them enemy helicopters. They thought Charlie had some sort of like crazy flying machine, but they were UFOs. Nobody knew where they come from, and they were observing the Americans fighting, but they didn't get involved. They didn't affect the outcome of the war. They would leave them alone. But if you start messing around with nuclear weapons, they'll come down and they'll take you out, and they'll close the whole silo down, and it'll be closed down for 12 to 24 hours. You won't be able to do anything. So if you start messing around with nuclear weapons, which means you can damage the planet, they'll come down, they'll interfere, and they'll stop it. Otherwise, they'll let you carry on killing each other for eternity. They won't stop that, but they will stop it if they think you're affecting the planet in a dangerous way. So that again makes me think that they are,
very out for the planet and the people, and that's also what I heard from several sources, that they really dismantled a lot of nuclear weapons during the years. And that they really, but some people think they're like good aliens and bad aliens.
Yes.
And that's really a war, really like Star Wars, like a really war going on.
Now I've seen this. I've seen them dogfighting. That's the only way I can describe it. But instead of dogfighting as in jets, they are in space, and they've got these strange craft, and they're flying around, and how can I explain it? I was with my night visions one night, and all of a sudden I saw what looked like a star. It was buzzing across the sky, and then it just stopped, like I said before, on a dime. but it didn't go back the other way. It just stayed there. So I'm like this with my night vision, thinking, okay, if I move now, I'm going to lose it because it looks like a star. But I know it's not a star because it just shot into view and then stopped. About 15 minutes later, so I'm like this in the cold, about 2 o'clock in the morning. Another one comes in from the other side, right? Slowly. It goes past like that. Then all of a sudden, this one that had been there for 15 minutes then shoots after it and follows it. And then they're doing all this business, you know, and occasionally you'll see a beam come out, which I assume is a plasma beam, a laser, I don't know. And then the other one flies off. Now, Mr. Ed Grimsley, who told me about the night visions, he actually said he saw one blow another one up, and he had a video of it. He'd recorded it, and he was going to show it at one of his seminars. But some men came up to him in the interval and told him that if he was to show it, you know, it's a big desert out there and they'll never find you. So he got threatened, so he didn't show it. And then a few years later, he passed, unfortunately. So we don't know what happened to the video. So I never saw it. But yeah, he said
some people also were like a lot of people who came out with their story also were like had also problems, I guess.
Yeah, I know there's quite a few of my friends. I mean, I've lost a lot of ufologists over the years, mysteriously disappeared or had strange encounters with men in black. I've had an encounter with the men in black as well years ago with my brother. You know, I've done shows where the Ministry of Defence have tried to close it down. We were live. They tried to shut it down. And that lady, by the way, down in Devon, where we saw the beams and everything coming down, she had a guy living at the end of her property because she had like a granny annex and she used to rent it out. And this guy was there for about a year. And then all of a sudden something happened. She wouldn't tell me the whole story, but she got rid of him anyway. So that was that. Anyway, she was sat down watching TV one night and she could see him in the bushes. She was like, what's going on? So she phones the police. Said, look, I had a guy here who was renting my part of my property and he's not here anymore, but I've just seen him in my garden. Can you come in, please? Get him. But of course they'd come, he'd run off, you know, they couldn't catch him. This happened about 3 or 4 times. Anyway, eventually they got him. They caught him. They said, okay, you know, we've got him now. We shouldn't trouble you anymore. We've taken him down to the station. You know, we're going to book him for being on your property and harassing you and all this business. Well, he wasn't really harassing her, but he was on her property. Anyway, about an hour later, one of the policemen came back and knocked on the door and said, we've got to tell you this by law, but the gentleman that used to rent your property and who was hiding in your bushes used to work for MI5. So MI5 had put a man in there because they knew that this lady was seeing stuff going on and they wanted to find out more because obviously they must have seen craft in that area. So they put a man inside and that's what he was doing when she got rid of him. He was still there in the bushes making reports about what was going on because at the weekends she'd get craft landing in one of her fields and she'd see the door open and occupants inside and they wanted her, because she said they talked to her through her mind, they wanted her to go for a ride. She phoned me up here one evening, Richard, they've just landed in my next field, the one that you were in. They've got the door open, it's egg-shaped with spindly legs. That's how she described it. I didn't see this, by the way. She's on the phone telling me. Richard, they want me to go in there. What shall I do? I said, Nina, it's entirely up to you. But back in the 50s and 60s, they used to do this all the time with farmers. They used to take them for rides. And then they drop them back down again afterwards. And I think personally disclosure was coming, but the government then stepped in and the whole thing then went quiet. And of course, it never happened. But they were preparing us, I think personally, for you know, for them to be here.
I think
so. She didn't go anyway.
Yeah, but I think disclosure will happen at one point because I feel like more and more people know it. No
Yeah.
more people are also channeling extraterrestrials and know about all the races. You hear about like Pleiadians, Andromedans, Arcturians. Like it's like you hear like so much about it. And also with the crop circles, a lot of people know it. And I saw like recently there was one crop circle with like the blueprint of a free energy device. I don't know if you saw that
I
too.
did. And I've got something to tell you about that as well. Now,
Yeah.
now we know that some of them are man-made, okay? We do know that. I know
Yeah.
the most complex ones aren't, obviously, but I think it's about 40% of them are man-made and they're not done very well. I know for a fact, because a friend of mine's done the research on this, MI5 got a load of students, put them in a flat in London, paid them £2,000 a month to go out and make crop circles. MI5 again, because they wanted to put like a red herring. They wanted, if they got some young students to make crop circles, then it would make it look like that people are doing all the crop circles because they
Yeah.
all obviously wanted to hide the fact. Yeah, exactly. So MI5 set all this up. And yeah, in fact, the flats that they put them in were next door to the MI5 building. So it was quite close. And yeah, so I know that for a fact. So MI5 were in Nina's property. MI5 are getting young students to make crop circles and paying them money and putting them into a nice flat for nothing. There's a big, big, big cover up going on. And we know that MI5 is involved. We know the Ministry of Defense is involved. Well, I do anyway. Personally, I know that for a fact. And why is this? Why would they do that? Because they don't want people like you or I to know what's really going on. They want to keep it all down, quiet, And what the agenda is, only you and I can guess, but they are keeping it from us. And like I said, if people only open their eyes a bit more, check the skies more, buy a pair of night visions.
But I also, even without the pair of night visions, you see already things in the sky. And I also
Yeah.
have a lot of people say like during the day they see like cloaked clouds, and the clouds are shaped in such a strange way. It's like it needs to be something. It's not normal clouds.
Well, there is a UFO that I saw once, and it has been on YouTube, but I can't find the video anymore. It was going back about 10 years ago. Blue sky, and all of a sudden, a cloud starts to appear, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's shaping a cloud. And I'm thinking, well, clouds don't usually, are made that quickly. It's like something was up there making this cloud, and then out of the cloud comes a sphere. So did that sphere just make that cloud? Well, yes, it probably did. And that got me thinking, they've got to be more than one of these spheres up there. So I started doing my research. This is going back 2011 stroke 2012. Right, there's a guy in Australia called Leslo Novak. You may know of him. I don't know. He's a YouTuber. Leslo Novak. He used to live in Australia where they always have good weather. He was sat on his roof every day. All right, he's retired. He was sat on his roof every day and he was recording these spheres. He said, Richard, they're everywhere. They are everywhere, everywhere. He said, all you need is a camcorder, again, cheap camcorder off eBay for $60. Get an infrared filter, so make sure it's got a screw thread lens. Get an infrared filter for about £20. Screw it on the end. Put the night shot on, which is your infrared, and then set zoom to infinity, and then pan the sky, and within 30 seconds you'll see one, and just watch and see what it does. He said they're like the size of a small 60s Mini, but in spherical form, and we believe they are drones. We think they're controlled by something, which is out in space. So they're ET, they're not ours, they're extraterrestrial. We know that because these things follow planes and they get so close that sometimes they can hit them. Where you've got planes that come down, they've got dented noses, and they say it's a bird strike. Okay, well, sometimes they are, you know, but other times they're not. There's no blood, there's no feathers, there's nothing, there's chipped paint, and there's a massive big dent on the front of these planes. And then I went into it a bit more, and then I got, you know, the equipment, and I started seeing them, and you're seeing one or two in the sky. Then a plane at about 20,000 feet will go across, and then these spheres will follow it, you know, and go after it. I put so many videos up. I've got people coming back from Germany, from Italy. They said they had a sphere on their wing all the way back. Got the cell phone out, videoed it. Yeah, they're everywhere. They're all around the world. And we think they are observing us, recording what we do. And if you go on the ISS live feed, you'll see them coming out of the Earth's atmosphere. These spheres, the same spheres, you'll see them go into space. You'll see them go past the ISS, and then you see them heading for the moon. And then I've got another friend who's got a big telescope. He's always like videoing the moon and stuff. And he says, Richard, I've seen these spheres coming out of a crater. He said the same spheres that you talk about. And he's got a video of 3 or 4 of them coming out of Aristarchus, which is a big crater. If you look at the moon, it's on the 9 o'clock position, and it looks very bright. It's like a bright dot on the moon because it's got phosphorus and it glows, and you can see it from Earth. Well, these spheres coming out of this crater, and then they're coming towards the Earth. So they're coming out of the Earth, going to the moon. They're going from the moon to the Earth. So we think the moon has got something to do with these spheres. Maybe this is where they go. Maybe that's their base.
I heard more people say like that the moon is also like
hollow inside, and
and it's like a place where they come also from.
So yeah, so I think personally that these spheres have got something to do with that as well, but they're everywhere. I mean, and sometimes they'll come down low. I mean, you don't need a special equipment to see them. Like you said, you can see them with your own eyes. I'm only saying if you put the filter on, when they're really high up, like 30,000 feet, you can't really see them. But with the filter on, you can, because it filters all the sun's rays out, and then you can see it perfectly. And you zoom in, obviously, with the camcorder, and you can record it. And then you can show it to your friends and everything. But these things do come down. I've seen them going across rooftops. And we do believe that these are what makes the crop circles. So they go into a field, and then they fly off, and it's all done within a few seconds. So these spheres are doing a lot of things. And I think they're just like making sure again that we, you know, don't mess up the planet, and they're just watching us and observing us. And also another thing, if there's a disaster, anything like a ship on the side, a volcano erupting, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, the Twin Towers, they're seen everywhere where there's disasters. So a disaster happens there, you'll get a sphere. Within minutes, you'll get a sphere. And it'll be there watching, recording, probably recording. We don't know. We can only assume they're recording it, you know. But they're always where there's disasters. It's funny that, isn't it? They're obviously, you know, interested in what's going on. And they're always there all the time. So that's why now I look out for them. You know, I'm actually there when there's a disaster happening. I'm there, like, you know, there's got to be a sphere somewhere. And then, yeah, there is. You know.
People that go into crop circles, they feel a lot of energy, and they feel like as if the extraterrestrials put a lot of love in the sphere, in that crop circle into the earth, and that they are really actually helping us. And
yeah, well, we know with the crop circles, don't we, the ones that aren't man-made, the nodes are bent round and they're burnt, and you know, you're getting energy from them. There's some sort of a microwave energy thing that's going on there that we assume these spheres are given out, which makes the crop circles, which you can't replicate. You know, you can't do that with some string and a board of wood. You know, you can't replicate that at all. So
who feel the energy, like
yes.
Like
yeah, when you stand in a crop circle, you can't you? You can feel electricity. You can feel it going through your body. You can feel something's there, you know. And then when you go into a man-made one, you've just got nothing. So definitely there's energy going on there. I know I've seen craft. I saw something that looked like it was preparing to go into light speed. So a sphere would, again, the plasma beam, it went up like that and then stopped. This is 3 o'clock in the morning, middle of the night, cold, winter. I was about to go in. I'm there with the night visions and I'm waiting to see what it does. And then all of a sudden, out of this sphere comes a beam of light, slowly coming out like that, going right across. And I assume this is in space. So I don't know how long this beam of light was, but it was probably quite long. And then it would stop. And then the beam of light would go back in to the sphere. And then I'm like that, waiting to see what it does then. And then it just, you know, it was so quick, I couldn't even follow it. And then there's a flash about 10 seconds later. So what I can only assume from that is the beam of light was moving the particles aside as it was jumping into light speed. That's what it looked like to me. This craft was preparing for and then went into light speed or beyond light speed, you know. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah,
I saw that once.
It's like whatever you're saying, it's like sounds interesting. Like.
It's like, whoa, that was good. Okay. That was interesting. You don't see that every day, right?
No, not at all. So it's like I think it's gonna happen more and more with people and like seeing it and let people more open to this information and seeing more and more, and it's like disclosure is gonna at one point gonna come.
I totally agree. But when?
Like more and more people will know it, and then they can't lie about it anymore, and they have to say it like, hey, it's happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen fairies. I mean, what do you think about that? Because, you know, I didn't believe in fairies. It's just a story, you know, that's told to young children. But I don't know if we've got time just to quickly tell you the story. But the gentleman that does the, you would have heard of this, the Glastonbury Festival we have here in the UK, the bands. Every other year, you know that, okay. Well, the gentleman that sets all that up, his name's Rod, okay? You know, he sets up all the sound stages. The pyramid always stays up, but everything else he has to do. And there's this field that he goes into. And he knew me, he knew I saw UFOs. He said, let's go to street in Somerset, have a chat. So I met him, told him about my UFO experiences, told him about Nina down in Devon. And then he said, Rich, do you want to see fairies? He said, the weather's good tonight. It's not raining. There's no wind because they don't like rain or wind. I said, yeah, sure. Why not? I was up for anything, you know. So I follow him in the car and we're going down all these back roads. It's pitch black, you know, trees everywhere. It's in the middle of nowhere. I know roughly where I am. So it's in Glastonbury, obviously, but I don't know exactly where I'm going. I'm thinking, where's he taking me? And then all of a sudden he pulls in and he parks the car on the side of the road. There's a fence there and there's some trees. We get out and he said, right, this is the field where the fairies, if they're going to be here, that's where they'll be. And I noticed as we went over the fence, there were some badges on the fence. And it's a national trust, which means it's all beautifully kept. You're not allowed to walk your dog on it. You know, it's lovely. But we went over there, no problem. Went through the trees and then I was out into the open. I could see Taunton in the distance, which is a place near to where I was. And it was a lovely night, stars. I wish I brought my night visions because it was a lovely night. And there was a wooded area down the end. But guess what? No fairies. They weren't there. So anyway, I'm there for about 3/4 of an hour with Rod. His name was Rod. And he said, I can't understand it. They should be here. He said, they're normally here. It's a good night for it. And then we were about to go. And we saw a light down in the wood. And Rod said to me, I think there might be a car down there, a headlight of a car shining up. Let's go and investigate. Could be a car that's gone into the fence. So we ran down to the field, to the bottom where the wooded area was, where this light was. It wasn't a car headlight. It was a plasma ball. And it was about 20 feet off the ground, you know, and I've seen these before, by the way. I've seen them during the day. You don't need any equipment. You see them with your own eyes. It's crackling, you know, it's a plasma ball. A lot of people have seen them. We don't know where they go. We don't know what they are. We don't know where they come from or whatever, but they're there anyway. And I said, oh, Rod, it's a plasma ball. I've seen these before. Anyway, before anything else, the thing shot up into the sky and it was gone. And then it all went dark. And that was that. And then Rod looked at me and he said, well, I've never seen that before. I said, well, they are. You've seen a plasma ball now. And I said, we see them quite a lot. And then I looked down on the ground. I saw these green dots. And they're like fiber optics, like you get through a dance floor. And I said, what are these, Rod? Are these your fairies? And he goes, oh my God, yeah. He said, they do glow green at night, like fireflies. I said, you sure they're not fireflies? He said, no, have a look. So I sort of get down onto my knees and I have a closer look. And they're in groups of 3s or 4s or on their own. And they're all huddled up like that. And they got wings all wrapped down there. And they're little people. I mean, they got arms and legs and they got little head. But they're only about the size of your nail, probably a little bit shorter than that. And they were like huddled up in groups, like I said, of 3s, of 4s, and there was a couple on their own. But they were all over the field. There were thousands of them, and thousands and thousands and thousands. It was like something out of a Spielberg movie. And I just looked up like that, because don't forget it's dark. And the whole grass was just filled with green dots. And I'm there looking at Rod, and he said, I've never seen how they arrive, Richard. This is the first time I've ever seen this. He said, normally when I come up here to this field, they're already here. He said, that's a first for me too. Now I know how they arrive. And I said, so what do we do now? And he said, well, if you wait long enough, they'll fly up onto your shoulder and they'll get used to you and they'll come to you. And I said, but you said you talk to them. How can you talk to them? They're too tiny. He said, no, I communicate through telepathy. He said, but that takes years. He said, I've been seeing these for like 20, 30 years. He said, I've taken Princess Diana up here and Prince Charles when they were together. And he's got photos of them. He's taken famous actors and all sorts of people. So I was quite honored, you know. And so anyway, I bent down again, got really close. And after about 10 minutes, I could see them and they're like starting to wake up, you know. And I went down very, very, very gently to pick one up. And as I went to pick him up, he went down into the soil like he was on an elevator. And Rod said, no, don't pick them up. He said, they'll come to you. He said, if you try and pick them up and they don't want to be picked up, they'll go into the soil. And then I backed off and then he came back up again. And I went down again and he went down again. I'm thinking, wow, this is just crazy, you know? So, yeah, anyway, to cut a long story short, I had a camera with me. I had somebody's cell phone. So I took some photos. They came out as green triangles because I needed a macro lens. So, but unfortunately, I don't really have a proper, you know, image of them. But I saw them. They were there and they were real. And they were tiny little people.
It's the most you experience them, and that is that.
It was a euphoria. I can't explain it. The feeling I had was amazing. I mean, it was just I had a feeling of being, you know, it was an honorable feeling to be there amongst them. You know, I felt very privileged, you know. Yeah. And the strange thing about this story, when I left, I had to leave them there, you know, in the field. I didn't want to go, but I had to go. Like I said, it was a beautiful night, okay, stars everywhere. As I was driving down towards the motorway, it was only literally 6 minutes away, and I was on the motorway. I heard all this noise, and I was like, what's that in the car? It was hailstone. The weather had completely changed. So I think the weather must have been bad anyway, everywhere apart from that field. They made the weather fine for them, and then, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it rained all the way home. Hailstoned. The car was rocking a bit, you know, it was windy. I'm thinking, wow, it wasn't like this 6 minutes ago. Yeah, it was a very surreal night, very surreal night. So that was my story with fairies. And I've spoken to other people who have, they say they've seen fairies as well. And they say, yeah, Richard, they do. They glow green at night. They're like fireflies. So, but they're not
People
they're not big, and they're
no.
not Tinkerbell like in the stories. They
No.
are very small. But during the day, they've got skin color, same as ours. And they have some sort of like a garment on them. But at night, they were all green. It was a shame I didn't see them during the day. I've gone back to that, trying to find that field, because it's not very far from where I live. Trying to find that field. And can I find it? I cannot find that field. I cannot find it. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. And I can't get hold of Rod either. So whether I'll ever see them again, I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? But I had also a friend of mine. She said he had saw fairies, and
Yeah.
I have also another friend who communicates with them and sees them everywhere. But I think the more people are open-minded to those beings, open-minded, and have certain frequencies, and that more and more people will see them also, and
Sure.
with these beings also more and more.
So that was amazing. I was very privileged to see that, and I'm glad I did see them. Because it's nice to know that something that's written in storybooks for children. Because you think about it, where did they get the idea from?
Yeah, but all the things like also with Lord of the Rings, all those books like Middle Earth, and
yeah,
I think there's so much more out there that we can't comprehend, and because we don't know it, and because we are not open to it,
sure,
we don't see it. But the more we know that it could be a possibility, and the more open-minded we are, and the more like there's so much more that we're gonna find out. Like there's not only like the 3D perspective, like the Earth, the physical Earth. There's so much more out there.
I agree.
And that is with so many things, and we're gonna find out more and more about that. I really believe that.
I do believe that too. I think so. And things like dragons that breathe fire. There must have been something like that at some point. And yeah, and they come through every now and again. It's like a veil opens and they come through.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah,
we
I
get to see them.
who channels and communicates with dragons, and she feels really.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So anything's possible.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this realm. Like it's like there's infinite possibilities. There's like so much more out there, and people are more and more opening up to that, and it's beautiful. And I think we're living in very, very exciting times.
I totally agree.
Where like more
Yeah.
and more like truth is coming out, of like information is coming out, and people will see like what they thought they believed is not totally true, and it's like, and that's why it makes it so interesting and so amazing what is coming out. So I'm very happy to have had this talk and to heard this from you, and I'm like already very excited about sharing to everybody. And I'm very glad that we had that you told this. And
Well, yeah, I like to get what I see, and I like to share my my knowledge with people, and everything I've told you tonight is exactly as I saw it, exactly how I experienced it. Nothing I've said tonight has been made up at all. It's all genuine, 100%. And then it's just a question of what you want to do with the information. But I think the more people go out and look up more than look down at their phones, stop looking at your phones all the time and look up. And you too will see all this stuff.
yeah, you see more and more. And I think more like people don't need before we always like, oh, I want to see like evidence before I believe it. And then you had more about like I believe things and then you will see them. And now more and more people know it. Like if someone is telling them from their heart and from their truth and from their experience, people resonate with it, and they believe that. They know it's true, and they don't need so many like proof to know there are things out there and there are things happening.
Yeah,
So,
because basically I've had disclosure for myself I know personally that we're not alone. I know that 100%, you know, 100%. I know we're not alone, which is a good feeling. It's just a question of what their next move is and what their agenda is. But it's
And when come.
yeah.
But I think we are living in very exciting times, and who knows what's coming. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's happening and what's going to happen. And but there will be more out there. And
Oh, definitely.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
very glad to have this talk with you. And people can find you as Richard Lennie on Facebook.
That's
And
right. Yes.
I will put some links under this videos, and so people can find them. And
Yeah, if
I
there's
thank.
anything they want to know, and they're not sure about, then just message me on Facebook, and hopefully I'll be able to answer their questions for them. So, you know, what to buy, if they want to buy equipment, what equipment they need, you know, to see during the day, during the night, help them see, you know, all this stuff that's going on, and anything else they want to know. If I can help them with it, you know, I will always answer people's questions, and I won't ignore people. So
That's great.
yeah.
Great. Thank you, and it's amazing. I know it's yeah, it's good to know that you are out there.
Well, you know, I'm trying. I go out there occasionally and still skywatch, even though I'm getting older now and it's getting cold and I feel it more. I do, but yeah, I've got younger people helping me now and they're doing the job, so it's good. And getting the word out there is just great. And more people are showing you what they're catching with their night vision equipment and their cameras and cell phones and everything. And it's great, you know.
Yeah, so it gets out there, and more people.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
And share things, and
Yeah.
then we will have full disclosure. So
I know there's so much fake stuff on the internet, but trust me, guys, that you know it's not all fake. There is genuine stuff out there.
yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. I thank you very much. I will stop recording and then I will talk further. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope the people will enjoy this very much. And I really enjoyed it. So thank you very much. And I stop the